So Bernie Sanders is at George Mason University, and I want to play some audio of him calling for the decriminalization, essentially the decriminalization of marijuana. And I know that's an important issue in Ohio, too, actually, in the coming days. But before we get there, I want to play you a clip, which I thought was really moving. Now, it's a 4-minute clip. We're not going to play the whole thing. And maybe we'll put the whole thing up on YouTube. But for now, we're just going to play a couple of minutes of this because Bernie Sanders, let me just set the scene here. Bernie Sanders is speaking at George Mason University. He's taking questions from students in the audience. He gets a question. You can't see it on camera at first, but it's off to the left. And he starts to walk over towards there. And a woman gets up. She asks a question. She's wearing, is it a hijab? Is that what it is?
Hijab.
Hijab. And she is asking a question. She's a Muslim student, and then Bernie sort of like just in the mid question just waves her over, like, come over here and ask that question. And part of this is visual, but you can hear what Bernie Sanders is saying. He brings her up onto the podium and gives her a hug. Just listen to this. It's very moving, and it's really telling about, I think, Bernie Sanders as a candidate. That this guy is, I think this moment is really going to mean something for young people in particular who don't harbor the same sort of like knee-jerk bigotry that we see in across the spectrum. And but here's that clip of Bernie Sanders at George Mason University.
With the growing Islamophobia in this country, if you look at all the Republican candidates, in order to feed into their constituents, they're talking about Islamophobia and are constantly bashing Muslims in the media. Ben Carson, Donald Trump, the biggest bigots. As a Muslim student, as an American Muslim student who aspires to change this world, Thank you. As an American Muslim student who aspires to change the world, currently majoring in international conflict analysis and resolution major, and I hope to be a human rights attorney. Hearing the rhetoric that's going on in the media makes me sick. Because I, as an individual, I'm constantly trying to raise awareness and make sure that everyone is treated equally in this country. So, to the next president of the United States, what do you think about that?
This is what I think. This is what I think. Let me be very personal here, if I might. I'm Jewish. My father's family died in concentration camps. I will do everything that I can to rid this country of the ugly stain of racism which has existed for far too many years. And let me tell you something. What racism is about is many, many things. It is pent-up hatred that is lashing out at people in uncontrollable and stupid ways, but it is something very different than that. For many years in this country, you have had politicians, and I'm old enough to know this, who played black off against white. So they told white workers who are earning pennies an hour, they said, hey, you think you're in trouble, but you're better off than the blacks who can't drink at a water fountain or go to your school. And they told straight people, well, you think you got problems, that you're better off than those gay people, right? And they told men against women. We played one group off against another. The rich got richer, everybody else is fighting with each other. Our job is to build a nation in which we all stand together as one people. And you are right. There is a lot of anger being generated and hatred being generated against Muslims in this country. That's absolutely correct. There is hatred being generated against immigrants in this country. And if we stand for anything, we have got to stand together and end all forms of racism, and I will lead that effort as President of the United States.
It was an incredibly moving and impressive moment, I think, and one that I think is going to have a lot of resonance with young people and college students. And
I think so. It makes you really even go beyond the politics and like him as a person, because that's, people, moments in history where people do important things like that. The imagery is important. You know what I mean? In situations like that, and when we're still in a point in time when somebody who's either leading or in second place polling in one of our major parties can say that we shouldn't have a Muslim as a president, or in the cabinet or anywhere, so for that hug, it means a lot more. You know what I mean? I don't want to sort of compare it in terms of fame, but I thought of when Jackie Robinson first got into baseball in the major leagues, and none of his own players would even accept him. And Pee Wee Reese, the shortstop on the Brooklyn Dodgers, who was from Kentucky, from Louisville, they have a statue there for him, went over and gave him a hug in front of the cameras on purpose. And that was a message and he was very popular with the players, and that was a message that this guy's one of us. Imagery like that can be incredibly important.
Yeah, good for Bernie. It really is. It's a moving moment, because you can hear the frustration and the pain that young woman is going through, and it's at a time where there is increased in this country Islamophobia, without a doubt. And you hear people try and intellectualize it, and you hear people, it's become like literally a cause for people to hate.
It's a major news station and talkers to millions of people that legitimize it every day.
And not just on the right. We have to make it clear. It's not just on the right. It is so-called, otherwise, so-called progressives who have an intellectual reason why they hate.
No, you're right. On the left, it happens too, and there's no doubt about it. There's a couple big, obviously the biggest of any of them is probably Bill Maher. And while I like a lot of what he does, I just think he's flat out wrong on that. And I don't think I wouldn't compare him to the Republicans in the manner in which he doesn't. It's hard. You have to get into the nuances of it, because he doesn't sit there and say you as a person, but he doesn't attack the person, but he does overall say that the religion teaches this or that and the other thing. And frankly, that's because of where the culture of that religion and some of the desperation in the Middle East. It's the same desperation that leads people in poor areas to join gangs or do other things. You're going to go where if you're angry and you're disaffected, you're going to go and you're going to act that out.
Look, if we're talking about, sort of the tendencies that certain religions can breed, let's not remember that we just had a person who is alive talk about his father's family getting wiped out at a time. And if you do not think that there were, that the Holocaust played on Christian bigotry against different groups in Europe, then you are deluding yourself. Now, granted, that's 70 years ago, and that's a long time ago.
But you know what? It may not be as over, because we obviously do not have the government of a place like Saudi Arabia. We have the kinds of principles that are more open-ended, but history isn't a straight line. The 10th, 11th century, around those times, there were some very forward-looking cultures in parts of Europe, Cordoba, and parts of the Middle East, where Muslims ruled and lived side by side with Jews and Christians.
Of course.
And we're in a period right now. Look, we've had Christians killing each other in Ireland up until very recently. We had Christians killing each other when Yugoslavia fell apart. We're killing Muslims too, but killing each other in different places there over religious differences. We've got people who are gay and lesbian and transgender being killed here today in this country because of Christian bigotry. So it's in a worse spot right now, and certainly a lot of parts of the Middle East and Far East or Southeast Asia, I should say, because of the kinds of governments that are ruling. But it's not to say that this stuff doesn't exist in all religions. And of course, I left out Israel and what a Bibi Netanyahu can do and the kinds of things he can say, and the Likud folks and even the ones further to the right who march in lockstep and are ready to wipe out villages of people. So let's not pretend that it's a one religion thing.
Indeed. Or even just a religion thing, because I think we know
that's a good point too.
I mean, it's a human thing. Sad to say,
it is.
And
sadly, there's a lot of a-holes out there, folks,
right.
And they'll find any excuse, whether it's religion or something else, to behave in the manner in which they want. It's a